Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. I'm your host, Heidi Kasner. Let's get started. Welcome back. Today we're going to look at how to deliver a Dharma talk and weave the theme of Shiva's cosmic dance, which addresses the beauty of destruction and making space for the transformation that comes along with the beauty of creation. In case this is the first episode you're listening to, please go back and check out Season 1, Episode 2 of the Theme Weavers podcast for details and background on the structure of how and why to weave themes through your yoga classes. If you choose to use today's teaching on Shiva's cosmic dance as your theme, please find a way to turn my voice into yours. Make this theme authentic to you specifically. And just a few housekeeping items to bring up before we dive into today's episode. I feel like I sound like a broken record sometimes, but your feedback truly does mean the world to me. Whether you comment on the episode directly where you listen to it, or if you have a comment and send it as a message to me on Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email directly, however you do it, hearing from you fuels my passion and keeps me inspired on this journey. So truly, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are so inclined and enjoy the podcast, there is an option to set up a subscription to Theme Weavers for a small monthly fee. This is especially relevant if you're a chromatic yoga teacher. If you are and you consider subscribing to the podcast, this allows you the possibility of tracking your listening hours, and they count as continuing education through chromatic yoga to help you up level within the system of what you're able to do in that trajectory. Drop me a line at theweaverspodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions on this. And if you're not a chromatic yoga teacher and you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, reach out to me and I'm happy to fill you in. It's pretty cool. And if you enjoy Theme Weavers, please follow the show and leave a review wherever you listen. It really does make a difference, both to me in reading it, other listeners, and I'm learning about the world of podcasts, the amount of people that subscribe to your podcast. And when there's comments, it makes a difference with showing up as recommended episodes for other people. So this is a hobby. I really enjoy it. I enjoy being able to bring this content to you. So help other people hear it too. That'd be great. Thank you. And lastly, 2 pieces of exciting news. Theme Weavers Academy has officially launched. It's a quick, practical course designed to help you craft impactful yoga classes with confidence and creativity. You can check out the link in the show notes to learn more and join me on this transformative journey. I also have the ability of giving you continuing education hours through Yoga Alliance if that's helpful to you when you graduate. It's cute. You get a certificate, so I guess you graduate from the course. And plus, I've also written a book called Energize Your Life, a chakra workbook for personal transformation. I love talking about the chakras. You heard about that maybe, I think it was season 2. Was it season 2 or season 1? No, season 2, I think, when we went through the whole chakra system with episodes on that. So pretty awesome. I'm excited about the workbook. It's really cool. And I love the texture of the cover. I'm such a dork, but I love how it feels. And you'll enjoy holding it in your hands too. And if you're not a tangible book person, I did have a Kindle version that you can download on, and there's journaling and stuff. So you just either use like a cute journal or type it into your wherever you type journaly things. I don't know. But there's all the different ways that you can access it and read it. So please visit HeidiKasnerYoga.com/chakra book for details. The link's also in the show notes too. So thanks for tuning in. All right, enough about all the announcements. Let's get to today's episode. All right, you ready for yoga story time? Get yourself cozy. I'm sitting on a nice little yoga blanket. You do you wherever you are, but gather around. Let's listen up. Today, I'm going to share with you a story about the myth of Shiva's cosmic dance, a story from Hindu mythology that speaks to the cycles of life and the transformative power of movement. Shiva, if you're not familiar with him, is one of the principal deities in Hindu mythology, known as the Destroyer. In the trinity of deities, there's Brahma, who's known as the creator, Vishnu, whose role is the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. But Shiva's role as the destroyer isn't about destruction for its own sake. And not like he goes around like destroying everything, right? That's not his role. It's really about clearing the old to make way for the new. I'll get more to that in a moment. But the myth tells us that Shiva performs his cosmic dance to keep the universe in balance. With each movement, Shiva creates, sustains, and dissolves the world as we know it. This is all about, in mythology, it's like hard for my brain to wrap around it, but these lifetimes go by sometimes in the blink of an eye. A new reality is created, life lives as it is, then it is destroyed. Time goes by and it all starts over again. And sometimes through these iterations, the gods take different forms as well with different names. So it can get a little bit confusing. I wish there was a cute little family tree, but I have never found one to this day. So if you know of one, let me know where it is. It'd be helpful sometimes, but I'll try and make it as easy to follow as possible as we're talking about the different people and their names. Okay, so Shiva dissolves the world. His dance is dynamic and all-encompassing. It's a rhythm of life and death, chaos and harmony, destruction and creation. In this dance, Shiva embodies the flow of life itself. His movements are fierce yet graceful, expressing the duality of our existence, joy and sorrow, beginnings and endings. As Shiva's foot stomps the ground, it symbolizes the destruction of ignorance, paving the way for wisdom and growth. He dances amidst flames, representing the fire of transformation that allows us to let go of what no longer serves us. What does this ancient story have to do with your life today? Think about the cycles you experience, relationships that begin and end, projects that come to fruition and fade, even the rhythm of your breath, right? Every inhale can't just stay as an inhale. It has to end and leave your body and exhale back out. It's a beginning and an ending. Like life itself, blah, 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 blah. I can really talk today, folks. So life, like Shiva's dance, is a constant flow of change. We often resist this flow, clinging to what feels safe and familiar. I mean, I do. I don't know about you. But when we resist change, we create suffering. Shiva's dance reminds us that change is not something to fear. It's a natural and necessary part of life. By embracing the rhythm of creation, preservation, and dissolution, we find freedom. Now, I do want to say really quickly that you might face challenges in letting go because you are a human being, right? It's really hard to let go of the end of a relationship, the end of a career if you're changing careers, or even a simple habit that you've outgrown, right? These moments of change can feel like destruction. Like you're never going to see the person again. You're never going to get to be at work with these people. You're never going to get to, I don't know, pick your hangnails on your hand anymore. Whatever it is that you're trying to create a new habit for, you have to let go of the old one. And that is really hard, right? We have to let go. It's painful. It can feel like we're suffering. But by letting go, it's also an opportunity for renewal, for a new beginning. Shiva teaches us to step into the fire of transformation with grace, trusting that what emerges will be brighter and stronger. Practicing Shiva's dance in your life means learning to flow with change. It's about recognizing that endings are not failures, but part of the cycle of growth. I feel like I should repeat that. It's about recognizing that endings are not failures, but part of the cycle of growth. Whew. That was very heavy for me to realize. But this isn't always easy, clearly, because nothing ever is. Fear of the unknown, attachment to the past, and resistance to discomfort can hold you back. You might find yourself stuck, unable to move forward because you're clinging to what was. The practice of yoga, through breath, movement, and mindfulness, can help you release this resistance and step into the rhythm of life. I'm saying it like it's easy. It's not easy. Let me finish the Dharma talk and then I'll talk a little bit more about that. As we move through our practice today, think of each pose as a part of the cosmic dance. If we cling to a pose out of fear, how does that keep you from growing into what comes next? If we cling to our spot in the room that we are so used to, how does that keep us from transforming our comfort with change, allowing space for growth? We practice on the mat so we can show up in this cosmic dance of our lives to embrace the endings so they give us room to grow into new beginnings. All right. That's the end of the Dharma talk that I would usually give. But sometimes I give, depending on who's in the room, I do give some personal examples. I feel like, you never give a Dharma talk to air your dirty laundry, if you will. But if sharing a personal example from your life helps other people feel connected to you or can then connect it to themselves, it's really useful. So I share two different stories usually. One is about one of my oldest, deepest, greatest friends. She's a hairdresser. She's been a hairdresser since we were kids. She used to, take these curls that you see and she put them on an ironing board and with an actual clothes iron would flat iron my hair before flat irons existed, right? So she's always done my hair and she loves it. But, we're now over 40 and COVID happened and her income very much relies on people being willing to go get their hair done. And sometimes she is so busy and stressed, she doesn't have a minute to breathe. And other times everybody's sick and she doesn't have an income and has all this free time. And her body kind of hurts. And it was because she doesn't do yoga. And it was getting kind of old. And we had this conversation that she had this opportunity basically like plopped into her lap to totally change her career, have a normal salaried, not normal, but a salary 9 to 5 type job. She'd go to work, she'd do the job, she'd get paid, she'd come home. And she finally decided she was ready to make this leap. And she started to tell her clients, and her clients were very unhappy because, they've been with her for 20 plus years and they love her and they love the way that they connect and that she does their hair. And so she started saying like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll still see you. I can do like this night or this weekend. And so she makes the change of career. And like time is going by and she never calls me back, never texts me back. I'm not angry. It's fine. She's clearly so busy that she has no way to do anything other than her job because she's also clinging to her old job. She's now doing 2 full-time jobs, essentially, out of fear that if she lets go of her hairdressing clients, that what if something bad happens from this new thing that's been created, and then she has nothing. So rather than take that leap, which we kind of talked about last week with Hanuman, right? Rather than make that change and create something new, she's unwilling to destroy what was in order to have this new thing. So instead, she's straddling 2 different worlds. And it's not going well because she has no balance in her life. And change is starting to gradually happen. But I always think of Shiva's cosmic dance with this because until she's ready to, the word destroy it can be so harsh, right? But until she's ready to say goodbye and close the chapter on what was out of trust for what is becoming, she's not going to ever feel complete. She's going to be suffering in both of those worlds. So that's one example I give. And, when I was planning this, just to be totally transparent with you out here, listeners, if you're listening, when I was creating all of this mythology stories I wasn't creating the stories, but when I was creating the scripts for the season, I thought I was still going to be doing this with Farron. For years, we've talked to each other a bazillion times a day. We know each other inside and out. We've created plans for this podcast growth. I bought us some new equipment. I shipped it to whatever. The plan was that this is what's going to happen. And Farron decided to change the plan for herself and change her life for reasons that I don't exactly understand, but that's not my place to understand. And she created the destruction of what was for us as a friend pair and as fellow creators together. And I felt devastated because it was out of my control and I didn't understand it. And I couldn't see that this was giving me the ability to say goodbye to something that is no longer serving us or her, and ergo me. And I was afraid to move forward. I was afraid to do this on my own. I was afraid to see what could be created out of this. And I was holding myself back at first by clinging to what was. And I had to be willing to leave a clean break and be willing to do the work to create something that's new and it's exciting. And I yesterday spent all this time sort of like rebranding things and got really deeply passionate about it and lit up. And I felt like I had creative ownership over this experience. And now I'm like more excited than I was even before, but I couldn't allow myself to see that while I was still clinging to what was. Right. So these are some examples of things in my life that have happened or friends have told me about happening or are happening to me right now, where until you're willing to embrace that cosmic dance and see the potential for creation and transformation by saying goodbye to something that is no longer a part of your current situation, you can't ever grow into what could be. So just want to share that with you all. All right, so back to the task at hand. So your Dharma talk story time is finished, and now it's time to get into the class and find a phrase to drop the hammer throughout the class at different points to help your students come back to this idea of Shiva's cosmic dance as inspiration for leaning into endings to give us the space for growth and transformation. Endings don't have to be bad. You know that song, who was it? Matchbox 20? I don't remember. In the 90s. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Yeah, right? We can't have a new beginning unless what was a different beginning's end occurred. It's exactly what we're talking about here. So these dropping in the hammer phrases, lately I have been thinking of these phrases as breadcrumbs that you get to drop that lead you back to the overarching theme and message of the class. You follow the breadcrumbs, then you stay on the course. So some options of these phrases that I like to drop are flow with the change, flow with the rhythm of change, creation, preservation, and transformation. So it's the whole rhythm of change, right? So it's created, we preserve it, and it ends. And then we start again with everything that we do. So flow with the rhythm of change rather than resisting it. Or stomp out resistance and step into the fire of renewal. Or each breath is a cycle. Inhale creation, exhale release. Those are some that I like. I also sometimes will say, remember, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, right? Like I will say that quote from that song because I think it's really exactly what we're talking about here. But can we embrace that rather than resist it? That's the biggest takeaway and key. All right, so we have our few options for a thematic through-line phrase, or maybe you can come up with one better than me. I bet you can. Let me know what it is if you can find one that you really like. So let's have a chat for a moment about how we bring all of this alive in the class. What additional things might we hit on? Things like peak poses or specific pranayamas, breath work, or really anything else related to Shiva's cosmic dance. There is a sequence. I have had trouble finding it, but I do know that there is a yoga sequence on Shiva's cosmic dance, and it's like a series of movements and postures. But for me, I prefer doing dancer's pose personally as the peak. And then when I teach this myth, I also have us, like, we start in mountain pose, which is just preserving exactly where we are at this moment. Now come into dancer's pose, create something new, transform it, grow, feel your heart draw forward and lean into this new creation you are making. And now release it, let it go, drop the posture, right? It ended, it's over, it's never going to happen again, just like it happened. So it's done. That ending now gives you the space to begin again. Let's take it on the other side. So I do something like that usually. There's also a quote I usually like to bring into a class like this. It's Pablo Picasso, the artist. Every act of creation is first an act of destruction. It is like a very artsy type thing to think about that you have to lean into. Like we have to destroy in order to create anew. And people are really uncomfortable with that. And I definitely honor the fact that they are, but we can really learn from that here. If you're so inclined to use mantra, right, repetitious mind tool phrases, Om Namah Shivaya means I bow to Shiva, the source of transformation. So it's a mantra repeating over and over, all about bowing to this God of transformation. If you're uncomfortable with thinking about it that way, sometimes just repeating the phrase, regardless of what it means, is just a tool for the mind to connect to the intention. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. It's very peaceful if you repeat it over and over in your mind. It's a nice way to start the class, like you teach it as a part of a meditation. Mudras. Mudras are the hand gestures that we can take. There's a fire mudra called Agni mudra, and we use it to invoke the energy of transformation. So the way that you do it, you bend the ring finger of each hand toward the palm. If you're watching this on video, I'm doing it right now. So much easier on my right hand than my left, which is so funny. And use your thumb to press down gently on the ring finger to touch each other. Keep the other three fingers, index, middle, and little finger, straight and extend outwards. So it looks, if you're looking at the palms, your ring finger's tapping down, your thumb is tucked gently over it, your other three fingers still extend out. It's funny to see which fingers have trouble with that, right? But that's a mudra, a hand gesture that's all about Agni, which is the fire, and fire is the element of transformation. So it's a nice one to use, whether you can do it in meditation with your students, you could do it, why not in like a tree pose or a warrior pose as your arms extend up or out, you take Agni Mudra. It's pretty cool. And then pranayama breath work along the lines of fire. Bastrika is the bellows breath. It's like the breath of, fire. They don't really have them anymore, but like the bellows that you stoke the fire with. You like, kind of looks like an accordion, and you pump the bellows, and it helps create fire and transformation and growth from the air. And we use this breath, just like a bellows, to ignite inner fire and clear stagnation to leave space for transformation. So there's just all these tools that we can use while we're in the class to bring us back to this idea of destruction to create space for transformation. Okay, so let's wrap up the class now that we talked about all of that. As this is what I would say to my students at the end when they're curled up before coming to a seat. As you prepare to leave your mat, take Shiva's lesson into your heart. Life is a dance, and you are part of its rhythm. With every ending comes a new beginning, and with every challenge comes the opportunity for growth. Think about the areas of your life where you might be resisting change. What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Shiva's dance reminds you that letting go is not a loss. It's an act of courage that creates space for something new. Again, Shiva's dance reminds you that letting go is not a loss. It's an act of courage that creates space for something new. As you move through your world today, embrace the dualities of life: strength and softness, joy and sorrow, creation and release. Know that even in moments of difficulty, you are part of a greater harmony, and every step you take is part of the dance. All right, yogis, if you liked this yoga story time, find a way to bring the theme alive in your own voice, in your own practice, and your own teaching. Shiva's cosmic dance represents the rhythms of all of our lives: creation, preservation, and transformation. Again, it teaches us to embrace change with grace, trust the cycles of life, and step into the fire of renewal. May this myth inspire you to move with courage and openness, both on and off the mat. And please reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, email, any of the ways, in person if you live near me in Massachusetts, and let me know how it lands. I'm here to support you, fellow yoga teacher, in your class preparation and delivery. So let me know how I can be of the most support. Tune in next time for a new myth for inspiration for your classes. And don't forget to check out our course, Theme Weavers Academy, Crafting Impactful Classes. Click the link below in the show notes to learn more and enroll. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week with a new myth and modern inspiration to bring to your practice and your teaching. See you next time.